Not goofy enough for you? Oh, yes. Oh, God, yes. Welcome back to Is It Still Good? I'm Bear Kennedy in Chicago. Joining me as always,
Andrew Carter, Los Angeles, with special guest. Here he is, big intro. Kahlil Maskati. Now, the reason we have Kahlil today, it's a big one. It's because this episode is covering a Goofy movie. 25 years old this year. And Kahlil, why don't you tell us why we're having you on?
Sure. So I wish I had some better accolades as to why I was the Goofy movie expert. But really, it's only that I absolutely love the movie, and it's, bear yourselves, number 6 on my all-time movie ranking list.
Yeah, that is an insanely high ranking, and as soon as Carter told me that, I was like, yeah, he's been designated the expert, so welcome to the show.
That makes me the expert, thank you.
And actually, I gotta say, you're our first guest ever.
Oh, amazing.
It's true. It's extremely true. And for those of you who don't know, this is Still Good. This is the show with a couple of grown-up film students who hate growing up. And it's a show where we look back upon the culture of our youth. And we take our rose-colored glasses, we make them sleep on the 3rd floor on the hide-a-bed with Fuller. And in the morning, we get up and we fly to France without them. And it's with that set of eyes that we look back anew and try to judge for all these things as it's still good. So correct. Today, we're tackling the Goofy movie. Goofy movie. I'm sorry.
I like the Goofy movie.
It really should be the.
It's
so singular.
It is singular. Yeah. I like the Goofy movie. I think that's funny. I would love it if we were like, you're our first guest, and like, well, just like bully him the whole time.
Yeah, twist his nipples for me. I'm not doing it myself.
Like this, you're like, this is horrible. Like, why? I thought we were gonna talk about a Goofy movie. You're like, no, we're gonna talk about you, baby.
Not goofy enough for you?
Yeah. But yeah, so we're talking.
Let's dive in. So we all watch the movie recently? I watched it on Sunday.
I watched it on Friday.
I watched it on Monday.
Khalil, you watch it every time you close your eyes, but I'm glad that you watched it again.
That is true.
It took a lot for me to watch it again,
yeah. We all watched it recently. Before we get into what we thought of it now, we're going to talk about the history of the film and then our own personal histories with it. So in terms of the history of the film, it was released on April 7th, 1995. It was a box office success. It opened at number 2 at the box office behind Bad Boys. How about that?
Nice.
It was
same audience.
It was actually originally same audience. Yeah,
it's a surprising result.
A lot of competition for the demographics. It actually was originally scheduled for a release in November 1994, but there were production setbacks, which I just find hilarious. Like, we can't do it.
Actually. Did you read what it was?
Actually,
the production setback.
Maybe I don't know.
This is.
Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
This is brutal. So, like, I've worked in post, and what happened was the way you used to have to make all these animated movies was you would draw all the fucking shit, and you'd film it one frame at a time and create a print off of that. So, what happened was that the thing they were filming onto a monitor that had one dead pixel in it. And so there was just one pixel that was just white, like if you've ever had a dead pixel on your phone. And they accidentally filmed 75% of the movie with that dead pixel and had to go back and recapture it all. And that's why it was delayed like 9 months.
Wow. Talk about that for a second.
That keeps me up at night. That is a worst case scenario.
That's a fucking nightmare.
That you don't realize till you get that deep into it, and all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, this is a nightmare."
So what does that mean for the film in terms of that's just like an animation thing that needs to be redone? Does the voice actors need to come back?
No, it's when you create the print of the film. So your final version of the film. It's also how you would digitize anything old. You actually just film the stuff you want to be on the print. You're not actually filming people moving, so you just have to film all these all these panels. So they were projecting the panels on a high definition or whatever at the time monitor, and then pointing a 35 millimeter camera at it and filming that. And the monitor had a dead pixel on it, so there's nothing you can do.
Wow.
That pixel's in every single frame of the film. You have to just recapture everything.
Wow.
This is after everything's already drawn. This is
That's
probably
terrible.
as close to being in the can as you could get for the film, and having to go back and be like, oh yeah, we got to completely redo all this.
That's rough. I do agree with Andrew that it would have been funnier if the reason was like a Mike Myers Shrek thing where he recorded the voice of Goofy like with a completely different accent the entire first pass of the movie.
Okay, did you do any research on this? Because that also almost happened.
Wait, what?
Are you serious?
Jeffrey Katzenberg talked Bill Farmer into doing a normal voice for Goofy as part of the pitch for the movie. It had to be talked out of it to let him do the actual Goofy voice.
Wow.
So we almost actually got that exact scenario where they're like, this sounds fucking terrible. Can you please just do the right voice?
That's crazy. I understand that though, because it's like Goofy. It's like Goofy for the first time being like a normal dad, and not just like so.
Yeah,
but
creatively,
it still wouldn't have worked. Yeah,
no, it would have been terrible. But you can see where that thought process came from.
I understand that. Yeah, it's like, well, it's Goofy for 72 minutes. It's not Goofy for segments in a 22-minute episode or something. It's like, it's like him front and center. So I get that.
That's hilarious.
My favorite review though that I read was Roger Ebert's, because it was an unfinished review. I don't know if you guys know this, but like I
read it as well.
Yeah, he went to a screening. And all of a sudden, the image turned upside down, and it was a bunch of kids and everything,
right?
And they had to then reissue, they had to give rainy day passes, and it was already a free screening. And Roger Ebert mentions that it was a good deal, to see a movie for free and then get a ticket to see another one for free. But it was an unfinished screening, so he just made little it was basically he's like, so it was an unfinished movie, so this is going to be an unfinished review, and just made little notes that he had written on his notepad while he was watching it, which I thought
I've read
really
a lot
funny.
of Ebert. I went to high school in Chicago, so he was like the main critic at that age. It was kind of perfect, and I like him. I still like reading his old stuff, but every once in a while he would file something super weird.
Yeah,
and this is one of those. He just that review is just, it literally reads like he just wrote his thoughts down. Or was like, well, I got a deadline. What are you going to do?
That's exactly what it was.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My favorite line from that was that he starts musing on how Goofy's a single dad.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote, someday I would like to see a cartoon about the court battle he went through to get custody of Max.
I did. I heard
end
that
of
too.
thought.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then he goes, cute moment. During a fishing trip together, Goofy suggests they play car games. I'm thinking of a person, Goofy tells Max. You have to guess who it is. Is it a male? Asks Max. Yes, says Goofy. Walt Disney? Says Max. Right, says Goofy. I did think that was clever when I watched it. I was like, oh, that's funny. That's them showing parents are gonna like this too. It's a movie for everybody. Come on. Yeah. But now we're gonna talk a little bit about our personal histories with it. And since you are our guest, and not only that, our first guest.
Yes.
Please talk about your personal history with it, and also please talk about why it's your number 6 of all time, and where that came from, and
I want the bracket. I want 7 and 5.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I want to know why is it number 6 and not.
I should have to look at what 7 is, but yeah, I'll try to keep it as brief as possible so we all go, and then we can get more, and then you can have your rebuttals, Bear, which I'm sure you'll have.
Rebuttals. I won't jump in.
Yeah, by the way, just for the record, we all don't know. I mean, I guess we can assume what Kahlil thought, but we don't know what we all think yet, if it's still good or not.
Right.
So,
right.
Go ahead.
Correct.
So the answer for me is yes, it is still good. Get that out of the way. But so I think it. I don't even think I saw it in a theater the first time it came out. I was only 3 when it came out. I probably didn't see it for the first time until I was 5 or 6, a couple years later. And I actually told Andrew this already, and hopefully this doesn't incriminate my parents or anything. But I actually, a bunch of movies I saw for the first time growing up were recorded on VHS from a rented movie where there was an FBI warning that said "Do not record."
Yeah, warning's not a joke.
Maybe it is. And so I owned Goofy Movie in that way, and it was actually funny.
Right, I said I wasn't gonna jump in, but So, what was their setup? Did they have 2 decks, and they would put the component from one into another one and just hit play?
How do they do that?
I think so.
Like, were they like? Did they buy bulk VHS tape? Because that
that must be what it was.
That's kind of a hobby.
You know,
have you ever talked to them about this?
I should.
We should have them on.
Yeah,
Talk to them about
I really should. I've never thought about
bootlegging?
I've never thought about it in that much detail before.
They're masterminds.
It must have been. I think my dad was like that. He must have been like that into it.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
It is awesome.
but
But the difference also,
yeah.
by the way, is that they weren't like selling them.
Yeah,
They were just for your family.
It was like for
That's fine. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that.
The official position of this show is not to endorse piracy, but that's really funny.
Yeah, I agree.
Not only this movie, but like apparently more.
a lot more, but we'll stick with this one for now. So all my first memories seeing it, not only did I love it, the first time I saw it and the first few times I saw it, but also I think it's just funny that like my first few times seeing it were all with this memory of like the video slightly dipping into like a slightly dark blue and then coming back and like the sound kind of going like and then coming back like every like 20 minutes or so.
Warts and all.
Yeah. But
Awesome.
it added to the charm. Yeah. But
Do you know if they still have that VHS?
yeah, I'm like pretty sure. I don't think I have a VHS player in my parents' house anymore, but I think we still have the VHS.
How did you watch it this time? Did you just fire up Disney Plus,
Disney
or
Plus,
have you ever seen it in the theater, or have you
So-
ever seen a clean? Was this the first time you saw a clean transfer of this that wasn't
No,
like
so-
your father's like hack?
I'm glad you asked that because I think I saw it for the first time cleanly. Eventually, it started playing on Disney Channel because Disney Channel started just showing movies, and I remember I was like, oh, they're showing a Goofy movie, and I watched it and I was like, oh shit,
That was always really cool as a
Yeah.
kid to be like, this movie that I saw in theaters, now it's here?
Yeah,
Like,
it's on
whoa,
TV, and I watched it and I was like, whoa. I had no idea, like, that part with Bigfoot was actually, like, brighter colors than it actually was,
Like entire lines of dialogue
Yeah,
that
yeah.
had faded out of the copy. You're like, holy shit, the whole plot's different.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you asked that because something that really brought it full circle for me was when I first moved to LA in summer 2017, like, a few weeks after I moved here, El Capitan was showing a Goofy movie in their theater, and
cool.
and I was just like, wait, like one of my favorite movies, and of course I moved to LA, and this like theater that famously does these re-screenings of movies is showing this, and so I went to that. I think it's the only time I've been to El Capitan, actually. It was to see that. So yeah, so I go, I see it. They even have like a guy in a Max costume do like the eye-to-eye dance before the movie starts.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Damn.
They're so committed.
And like that was great because like I was like, oh, this movie that's one of my favorite movies of all time, but I've never seen in a theater. Now that I'm in LA, like in Hollywood, baby, like I see the movie with a crowd of people.
I just picture you walking on Hollywood Boulevard with your sunglasses, taking them off, looking at the marquee. You're like,
wearing like an all yellow power line tracksuit.
yeah.
I wish.
Wait, how was the crowd at the theater?
Yeah, what was that screening like?
It felt like it was a lot of like maybe people in the animation world. A good mix of people who just love the movie, and then also like maybe older folks bringing their kids who had never seen it before. It's a good mix. But yeah, no, it was like pretty full and like good reactions and like laughing and stuff in the crowd, and it was really
So was
cool.
it mostly like older people, not too many kids, or was it pretty split with like parents and kids?
I think it was like half like parents bringing kids for the first time and half like people who loved the movie when they were younger and were now showing up like with their Powerline shirts.
Okay, that's cool. Speaking of shirts, for those that are actually watching this on YouTube, you should show your shirt, Kahlil.
So I don't have a Powerline shirt. I probably should, but I have a Lester's Possum Park shirt.
Awesome.
That is a
Yeah,
pretty
I had
sick
to wear
shirt.
it.
I didn't know much about Lester's Possum Farm, but apparently that it's a recurring location for Disney.
You know what? I actually didn't know that.
I
either.
didn't know that. Damn,
Like, it's a
research king
deep-
over here.
Guys, come on. We we delayed a couple days and I had a lot of toilet time to look shit up. But that's a good shirt. Was that hard to find, or is that where'd you
I
get
think
it?
so. I think like at my old job, a friend, a coworker, and I, we like we just got on this tangent one week of just talking about a Goofy movie a lot, which is, I'm guessing, common with me. Everyone who's known me for at least like a span of a few months has been like, have you ever talked with a Goofy movie about Kahlil? No, so yeah, and I think we just thought it would be like cool to, because I think I told them that like I told my coworkers that I went to the screening and people had these Powerline like 1995 World Tour shirts, and I was like, that's sick. I was like, that's such a cool shirt. But a lot of people had them, so like we were like we should find something that's like a bit more of a deep cut, so I think we just like Googled like a Goofy movie shirts and found this. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bear, what's your history with it?
This is a movie I do not remember seeing.
Wow. Okay.
Kahlil, I think I might be a little older than you, but I remember Goof Troop.
Yeah.
And I cannot separate memories of watching Goof Troop with this movie in particular. So I don't know. Like, I really don't have a clear memory of watching this. I could picture like the VHS cover immediately, but it wasn't a staple in my house, and I don't have anything wrapped up in like the first time I watched this or being on rotation as a kid. So that's obviously going to inform my opinion of it a little bit. I may as well have been seeing it for the first time when I watched it on this past Sunday. What about you, Carter?
Wow. I saw it in theaters when it came out. I remember seeing it because, we are a little older than Kahlil. You and I are the same age, so we were like 6.
I would have been 7.
Yes, you would have been. Okay, so I guess I'm a couple months younger.
You would have been turning 7.
Yeah, I would have been turning 7. So
you were 7. I was 6 3/4.
I was 6 3/4 in a couple days.
We celebrated a half birthday, and then we
celebrated a half birthday, and then we went. No, but I remember seeing it in theaters. I'm not sure if it was like opening weekend or whatever, but I remember like begging like my dad, please, we gotta go. And I remember it was spring of '95, and my mom had we had like a week off from school for spring break, and my mom took my sister on a trip, just the two of them, and so my dad and I were home for a week, and I remember it was that week that when we saw it. And I was like, my dad was like, what do you want to do this week, pal? And I was like, I want to see a Goofy movie and go camping. And we saw a Goofy movie, and then we went camping in our living room. I don't know why. I don't know, like...
I was going to say, you should have gone... I thought you were going to take a road trip to go camping.
Did you know that it was a major plot point?
Yeah, I think I did, because I think I saw the commercials, and I was like, I want to do that. And my dad was like, "No, but we'll do this." Like, I don't know if it was like his idea, let's camp in the living room, or if he was like we'll do it in the backyard, and then it rained. I don't remember that, but like I have a feeling he was probably just like, yeah, that kind of sounds like a lot. Let's do the do the like the
next. That's good
best
dadding.
thing.
That's advanced level dadding. You still got to camp, and he didn't have to go anywhere.
But I honestly didn't. Until this week, I hadn't seen it for 25 years, which is wild. And so, yeah, I guess I saw... What's cool to me to think about is that I saw it on 35 millimeter, like when it first came out in 95.
Yeah.
It's like, of course I like barely remember it, but I'm just like, all right, that's cool. Like I saw Toy Story on 35 when it first came out. And I actually remember that.
That would be funny if little Andrew was like aware of that, like 35 millimeter.
yeah. Where's the grain, Dad? yeah, there's not enough grain. But yeah, that's my history with it. But I guess now we'll talk about our experiences watching it now. And so yeah, Kahlil, take it away.
Back to me.
Yeah, so you fired up Disney Plus.
So I fired up Disney Plus, which you'll notice a trend here is that I don't like spending money because I use Andrew's Disney Plus.
Oh yeah, I'm actively stealing my girlfriend's father's Disney Plus.
This is it's basically just the updated version of my dad pirating VHSs. Is me using Andrew's Disney Plus.
Apple doesn't fall far from that tree.
I love that.
It's funny, right before I start, like every time I'm about to rewatch it, like I always get a little nervous because I remember it so fondly that I'm always a little bit like, oh man, I hope it's still, I hope it's still good because it has like so holds such a special place. And so I was super relieved to watch it and still be like totally into it. Like for me, I think just like the story works really well. I really connect to Max a lot. Like I think him performing, like the Principal Mazer dropping through the stage and him performing as Powerline is like the coolest thing ever. Like,
I can't believe you know the principal's name. That's,
Yeah.
I just want to comment on that for a second. I completely forgot.
yeah. Well, it's because Bobby goes into the principal's office and he's like, Mahazer.
Oh, yeah. By the
is
way,
a great
Bobby,
line.
Pauly Shore, uncredited role.
Oh.
I wrote down, I was like, man, I miss the 90s when you could have an entire character who's the only thing about them is that they sound like Pauly Shore. Looked it up, I was like, holy fuck, it's Pauly Shore.
Yeah, and he just loves cheese, and he's like, cheddar.
Yeah. Hilarious.
Weird.
But yeah, I just think, and again, it obviously does have so much to do with the way you remember it and how it impacted you growing up. But like, there are so many things in it that I even still quote to this day without knowing. Like, even just like the Everybody Mambo and the Leaning Tower of Chiza and just like left or right, Max, and whatever it is, and just like there's just like so many moments like that, and I don't know, and I just think like, and then you have the second act where usually a road trip movie kind of like gets super wonky, which I guess this kind of does, but in like a really funny, good way. Like, I don't know, like to have like to Lester's Possum Park and then Bigfoot back to back is just like, I mean,
It's unexpected.
That's good stuff. And then you end it with like going to LA for this concert, and it's just like such a fun, quick, satisfying ending. And I don't know. I think it's impossible for me to watch it without the slight lens of how I remember it, but I tried to as much as I could, and I still loved it. So
Did you get emotional at all?
I don't know if I got emotional. I just get like every time it's like for me an iconic moment, I just kind of get like a little warm, like the perfect cast,
Yeah,
like,
Well, did you like you mentioned you were like a little like nervous to watch it now? Like, were the nerves coming from like, this is gonna bring me back to childhood and I'm gonna get emotional, or was it more like, I hope this holds up?
Maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of both. Yeah. And then also, I just think, I think of one sort of small funny story is that the sound effect that Goofy makes when in the very beginning of the movie, the title comes up.
Yeah.
And you just, yes.
Yeah.
So that sound effect, an amazing sound effect.
That is a great sound effect.
And, a couple years ago, maybe like 2015 or 2016, me, my brother, and my dad are at the U.S. Open, like for tennis.
Oh, nice.
And some usually people in the crowd like whistle or say like, "Yeah, come on, Federer," or whatever it is, and someone in the crowd goes, and it was one of the greatest moments like ever.
That's
like,
pretty.
I was
great.
like, I can't believe I just heard that. But yeah, so that's just another thing that I think makes me, and I also, like you, Bear, I forgot to mention, but you said Goof Troop. I also remember watching Goof Troop, but even more than watching Goof Troop, playing a video game on Super Nintendo called Goof Troop, which was also one of my favorite video games. And so I think that played a role too, I think. Just
you're pretty immersed in the Goofy culture.
I was immersed in Disney and Goofy and Max.
Was Goofy Goofy and Max kind of like your guys?
Well, funnily enough, Donald was more my guy.
Interesting.
But I liked Max a lot.
Why was Donald your guy?
I don't know, because he wore blue.
Let me ask you a follow-up question.
What reasoning do you have when you're like 3 years old? You're like, I like the duck.
Well, here's the thing. In the movie, they mentioned that Donald Duck is Goofy's best friend, and then I was like, what's the friend dynamic? Like, are they...
That's a good question.
Like, are they a known quantity, and then like Mickey's kind of in the mix, or like, do you have that mapped out?
You know what? I don't. Although I think that's a hilarious line though. When he says, "Who, Donald Duck?"
You quoted that one to me.
Yeah.
In real life. It's not really a theory, but I imagine that Goofy and Donald Duck are like Mel Brooks and Carl Reiner, like just two old Jewish guys going to diners, arguing, but still love each other. Because Donald Duck's like,
right.
And, and Goofy's like, like, and they're probably just like,
It's probably tough for Mickey to have a best friend because he's so high profile. Like
that was my thought.
Like that's why he just has Minnie and Pluto.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like
I don't have time.
Yeah, it's hard. It's probably hard for Goofy and Donald to relate
Yes.
because he's so big. That's why Goofy and Donald probably
maybe they
relate
get
to each
together
other
and like
more.
talk shit about him.
Yeah.
We were
yeah.
talking about high thoughts before we started recording, and this got me in a rabbit hole. Like this exact discussion of like, what's the friend dynamic between these guys, and like, what's it like outside of the movies? Like, you know, like, do they hang out, or is like Mickey busy so the rest of them kind of hash it out?
I mean, Goofy is definitely like.
Also, if I could just continue down this road a little bit, it's like, isn't it so interesting that, and I feel like this really isn't a thing anymore, where it's like just this concept of like these Disney characters who are kind of like these animated actors that appear in multiple things, and so it's like Goofy and Max in a Goofy movie, where which is such a weird concept now.
It
like
is.
that doesn't happen anymore. It's not like Shrek in.
No,
you're
but
right,
kind
though.
of. But no, I actually disagree because I think the Avengers do that a little bit.
Yeah, that's the closest thing. Iron Man in Civil War.
I think James Bond gets credited as James Bond in whatever the movie is.
That's true. Yeah, when they have a
but that does
character
create
that's-
a weird thing that like, oh, he's in this movie, but what does he do when he's not in the movie?
Right.
Bear, talk about your experience watching it.
I don't hate this movie, but I this is like the definition of if you don't grow up with this, if you don't have this in kind of your childhood, this is not gonna work.
I get that.
This one, I mean, I don't want to be
clenching his fist. He's like,
No, I don't want to be too negative on it. Like I get why you probably like it, but like I don't have childhood memories wrapped up in this, and
that has so much to do with it.
Absent that, this is like the definition of rose-colored glasses. It plays like a TV movie. I mean, which you can tell just by looking. It's rated G. It's like 74 minutes runtime.
Yeah.
Like, we really is this like the A-list? And especially compared to other Disney properties at the time, like it is low rent. It's not bad. Actually, the voice acting's good. Mm-hmm. The songs are not nearly as good if you just make a direct comparison to The Lion King and Pocahontas, which I think were on either side of it.
Yeah.
Those songs still fucking rip.
Yeah.
These songs aren't as good. And the animation is fine. It's just not as detailed as, like, I watched... I don't remember why. I ended up watching like 10 minutes of Beauty and the Beast, and I was like, oh, they are drilling it with the level of detail in the town and the cast and all this shit. And this feels more along the lines of what you'd see on like a Goof Troop or like a Disney TV show. Mm-hmm. So the low rent nature of it, I actually think is kind of cool. Like there's not that many Disney properties that are like kind of lower tier. So this is it's interesting how this kind of ended up being like a cult Disney movie, but it's well positioned to be that because it didn't have the blockbuster success of the other films. It had a weird thing happen to it in its production that pushed it out of its original release date. And it wasn't as widely exposed. So, like, it's funny that you can have, like, a Lester's Farm shirt, and, like, if you know, you kind of know. It's, like, deeper horror shit and more obscure things. And in the Disney world, that's hard, because Disney's so in the zeitgeist all the time. Yeah. It's tough to find properties that are, like, a little off the beaten path. So that's kind of what I like about it the most, is that it is a little off the beaten path within the Disney realm. I didn't have a problem with the father-son shit. I think that all... is really thematically resonant. It's such a short, fast movie that that's really all there's time for, and that comes through. So if you saw this at Max's age, you would be feeling it pretty hard. Like that's clearly every kid struggles with, like, you just want to be cool. Right. There's some girl who you have feelings for that you don't really understand, and you don't understand enough to like not lie to her, and her dad's fucking scary. Like, that's pretty universal.
Which is great. Which is a great little bit that happens.
I like
dad just is a huge dog that
bulldog who's just like, that's it.
That is 100% what it's like to meet a girl's parents. But like, it doesn't transcend the form enough to we're watching it as an adult. I really think it's good. Like it's fine, but if you don't have that memory with it, there's not enough here to get out of what just seems like familiar kind of Disney TV stuff for me. Again, there's stuff I liked. I like that Goofy completely murders a mime.
Oh yeah,
like right in the middle of it. Just
there's a lot of deaths.
murders.
In the movie.
Oh
like,
yeah, there's a body
yeah.
count that I respected. He kills a mime, and then at the concert, Max kills a security guard, and the crowd fucking loves it.
It's a light show, baby.
Yeah, that was great. But there wasn't enough like super weird shit like that where someone like me who's a little jaded is gonna like really hone into it. There's a couple moments. I thought Powerline was an awesome name.
Oh man,
for like a '90s era band. But
I mean, he's basically Michael Jackson.
yeah.
he kind of is. I looked it up. It's Tevin Campbell, who I don't
Yeah.
know because I don't follow R&B.
Tevin Campbell, but
Who
like
does a great job voicing him.
He does.
He's
Speaking
awesome.
of the voice
He's awesome.
acting, yeah.
he does a great job.
I was like, I had a moment where I was like, did they get Prince to do this?
Yeah,
What the fuck?
yeah.
And Tevin Campbell, I believe, performed live at what's it called?
D23.
D23. Yeah, it was like the 20th,
Nice.
20th anniversary in 2015, and I believe he performed
Oh
live.
wow, that is
Yeah.
really cool.
You can
That's
find
cool.
it
So,
online,
like,
I think. Yeah.
That's awesome. Like all that stuff. Like I get why if you saw this movie as a kid and it kind of stood out to you, but it got just kind of swept under the rug with everything else Disney was putting out at the time. Like you kind of refine it later. Like, oh yeah, I did like this. There was stuff about it I liked, but it kind of just wasn't doing it for me in any way that I really found to be
Right. That was
super
beyond
memorable.
okay. Yeah, yeah.
The best thing, I mean, I read through a bunch of reviews. I thought, honestly, I didn't love the movie, and I thought some of the reviews from the time were unnecessarily harsh. Like, it is a kid's movie. Like,
Yeah.
let's relax.
Yeah.
There's some stuff that's actually cool. Like, there's not a well-defined villain. It's either
Right.
puberty or, the relationship of your father, depending on how you read
Right.
it. The two things I found that were funny, that I thought were interesting, I wrote down, was Bill Farmer, who voices Goofy, was asked about if Goofy's a dog. And he said, Pluto is a dog. Goofy is sort of the missing link between dog and man.
I
Which
love
is
that.
the-
Yeah, I read that
That is
too.
deeply strange, and I really liked it.
But it
the
makes
other article,
sense when you hear it. You're like, yep, that's
Yeah,
true.
probably the only
it's like,
way you can
okay,
answer
yeah,
that
I'm
question.
looking at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I found this awesome article by someone I'd never heard of called, his name's Jordan Calhoun. He wrote it on blacknerdproblems.com. And he's got a pretty long article that I highly recommend about how a Goofy movie is the blackest Disney movie of all time, which was awesome.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
Powerline,
it's
baby.
really good. Yeah, Powerline's a factor. He goes way into it, and I love it.
Max's style, honestly.
Max's
like,
whole
just
style.
like the red hoodie, the baggy jeans.
The fucking
like,
Jenkos.
Yeah, big
There was
Jenkos,
something.
yeah.
Jenkos were awesome. He
His
said,
friends, like,
yeah, his friends for
their
sure.
personalities are great.
Like lying to a girl. Like Max lied. Like out of the article, he said Max lied to a girl and spent the next several weeks making that lie the truth. The blackest plot ever. That's fucking hilarious.
I think that is something worth touching on too. Is the fact that like they're like it's kind of funny how there's no like moral of the story. Like the lie
Yeah.
really works out for him.
Yeah, if you really commit to it,
Yeah.
you'll be fine.
Yeah,
But then it works because he comes clean to her at the
Yeah.
end.
He does tell
But-
her. And he does introduce her to Goofy.
Right.
So.
Yeah.
Right.
And then he learns, like, oh, she liked me already. Like, she
Yeah.
liked me because, like, she already did.
So that to me is where it fell a little short too. Like I thought, given the song and all that shit, I thought they might have to deal with the fact that Max is basically trying to be cool by acting like literally a person he's not. Like he is not Powerline, and his whole gag at the beginning of the movie is to like act as if he's Powerline, and everyone fucking loves it. But he never has to reckon with the fact that the girl already liked him and his friends already like him without him pretending to be Powerline. And I wrote it down. It's like, okay, that's where this movie's going, and actually does not go there. Which I thought it was right there. You could have pulled that through. And it's a quick movie. It's very economical. It's fast. They get in and out.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff is where that and maybe a little more about Pete and his kid. I don't know what the fuck was going on with that guy.
Yeah,
Is
he's
that
like,
just like the...
Remember, look at the map, Goof.
Check the map.
Yeah,
Goof.
check the map, Goof.
Under your
Yeah, it's
thumb,
like-
Goof.
Yeah, I love that he calls
Like I
him
get everyone's
Goof.
friends...
Yeah.
Yeah, are they friends? Like, he kind of hates him. Like, it's kind of like the coworker.
Don't we all have friends like that, though?
Kind of.
I feel like I know Pete's in real life.
Yeah,
I do as well. But I wanted more of that. And Pete gets he doesn't even get a B story. He just kind of shows up and is you should do more shit with your kid.
Right.
But then Goofy completely outfathers him by using the cigarette lighter to heat soup, which is either 100% proof that he's divorced or just next level fathering, which I love. So that's a lot of my thoughts. Andrew, tell me how you feel.
Yeah, I'm in between both of you. So basically, it was interesting to see how much I had forgotten and how much I had remembered. Like the heating of the alphabet soup with the cigarette lighter, I remember that so well. But the opening, where he has the nightmare of turning into his dad, which I thought was great and hilarious.
Well, he has the exact same fantasy as Maximus from Gladiator, which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I thought that was so funny.
Pretty provocative opening, too.
I thought it was clever.
Roxanne with like a cut-open dress.
It was. I thought it was really clever, and I like completely forgotten about it, but I was like, damn, if I saw this with my kid today, I'd love that. I'd be like, I'm in. Like, and you know what? And you know what's funny about it is like, that's something that I'm going through in my own, and I think people our age, like, you know, late 20s, early 30s, this is the time when they start to adopt some dadisms. Like the other night, I was watching Tiger King a month ago or whatever, and something crazy happened on the show, and I just went completely unironically. I was watching it, and I was like, oh, jeepers creepers. Oh, and that's something that my dad says, and then I stopped and was just like, whoa, like I am my dad. Like
that's your version of A-hyuck.
Yeah, it is, right. And I was just like, holy shit. And the reason I'm somewhere in between you guys is because ultimately I found myself actually like pretty moved at parts. Like I will admit, like I was moved to tears at like probably at twice. The first time was, I think it was when they were leaving the possum thing and Goofy was really sad. That really got me because it's just because it's just like he's trying to have a fun time with his son and it's just like the kid wants nothing to do with him. And it just made me think of I'm sure I did that as a kid, and I was like, oh, and it like broke my heart. And then, but the part that really got me was when they were on the car in the river, which that's a whole other. We'll get into that in a second. Yeah. But
speaking of people,
the most realistic part of it.
I was just gonna say, like, how the hell are they on? Why aren't they calling anybody? I mean, I guess they don't have cell phones, but like, you know, like the car is just sinking. They're just like, I guess we're on the car now. But like when he's like, you're always gonna be my son, Max. Like that part got me. I also always remembered the line, which probably says something about me, is when Max says, I'm a failure, complete loser. I always remembered that. I don't know why, probably because that's who I am. And apparently the ultimate failure in this world is being a gang member. He's like,
well,
he's gonna
that
be
was
in a
part
gang.
of what that article, goes into is like,
right.
The consequences seem really fucking weird.
Yeah. The electric chair.
Yeah, they make a lot of references to the electric chair. They're all in.
Jesus Christ!
Like, hey, your kid's gonna join the gang, and he's going directly to jail where he will be killed by the state.
Yeah,
and it's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he's like, gonna go.
It's
that
right. It's one thing to be like, oh, this is like a stylistic choice of like this principle is way over the top, and then it's another thing to be like, whoa, wait, like the electric chair in a 1995 kids movie?
Yeah, that's
like,
wild.
Yeah.
Like, imagine, I imagine, like, there's one executive at Disney who, like, has a terrible kid who's watching it being like, good, they'll get good. Like, but, like, there are other lines that I loved, like, it's been handed down from goof to goof to goof, like, when he gives him the, the map, maybe? Or what does he give him when he says that?
It's either the map or the cast.
Or the cast.
The cast, the perfect cast. That part got me a little bit at the end, too, when he saves him with the perfect cast.
Great callback.
Yeah,
that's just good writing.
I was gonna say that is good writing. There's some very clever lines and stuff. Also, just like lines that are just so 90s when he's like, "Oh, I'm in deep sludge." Like that one's great. Also, this is another plot thing. Goofy was filming while driving with his feet.
Yeah.
Anybody? Yeah. That is outrageous.
Yeah,
he's an awful driver. He's just a consistent
terrible driver
throughout.
Well, while we're talking about driving, I just got to say the open road sequence everyone talks about the La La Land opening, but no one talks about Open Road in a Goofy movie. When that's
which sequences, like which,
like on the open road, that song.
Oh yeah, that song's great.
That's the original La La Land.
That's true.
You know?
Yeah.
With the sequence of the people dancing on cars in traffic.
Yeah.
It's too close to not be addressed. That is weird. I didn't think of that.
That's true. I didn't think about that either. But another thing, speaking of the songs, that was another thing where it's like, I obviously remembered Eye to Eye, but the one where he performs it at school, what's that one called? Stand Out. I remember that one. I was like, okay, this is ringing a bell. But the one where it's like, it's the last day of school, no recollection.
Oh, I love that song.
I didn't. Yeah, I liked it too. But I was like,
After
what?
Today, it's called.
After Today, yeah, I was like, what?
Get it right, you piece of shit.
I completely forgot that. I forgot the Open Road song. Like, I forgot a lot of the music in it. Oh yeah, this is another thing. Max got mad at Goofy for buying him a souvenir like possum hat. I would have killed for that. My parents, every time we went anywhere, I would always be like, "Can I have that?" No. Like, I would have been like, "Oh, please!" Like, and. Like, I would, like, the fact that he gets mad and throws it, I was like, you ungrateful little shit. Like, I would have loved that.
I did connect so much to, like, Goofy being like, oh, let's sit up front, though. And Max hating that.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Like, that, I don't know, that to me felt so real.
Did your parents do that?
Yeah, just things, I feel like, especially my mom, just of things of like, oh, yeah, like, we're at this thing I don't want to be at, but, like, she wants to sit in the front. And, like, I'm just like...
Yeah. That's...
Well, you just go through a time growing up where, like, all that stuff you're just annoyed by. You're just like, fuck, man, I just do not want to be a part of this. Right. And there's no other option because you're a child. You have no freedom. No. You know, if you watch this movie during that time of your life, you're going to be like, oh, I get exactly what this is.
Right.
Because they hit that. They capture it really well.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, though, the reason why I'm in between is because the cut of them getting to the concert, that is such a major plot hole.
Yeah.
How the fuck did they get there?
Amazing.
they just floated and he's like, this has been a great trip and it's not over yet. And then they just are there. I was like, I literally stopped and was like, how did they, wait a minute.
But
like,
a pretty sick match cut from Los Angeles on the map to the stadium on the map to then the
That's how they distract you. Yeah,
that's how they get
you're
away
right there.
With it.
Done.
And also... How the fuck do they know all the dance moves? All the coordinated dance moves?
The dance moves were the perfect cast. It was Powerline who was following along.
You're right. Oh, you're right.
That's why you're on the show, Kahlil.
Exactly. That's why you're on the show.
But no, totally valid point. How do they get there? Also, how did they get away from Bigfoot? Like, Bigfoot was sleeping on the... Like, did he wake up and just leave? That was another thing for me. Touching on that.
I felt like there was just a lack of creativity there,
and the movie could have been 10 minutes longer. You could have shown them getting to the concert.
It would have been fine. And like, because a lot of the rest of the movie, like within, like in the dialogue and stuff, is clever. And I was just kind of like, oh, really? That's
where they should have resolved whatever relationship was happening between Goofy and Pete. It was in that missing 10 minutes to get to L.A.
That's good.
Right, and him being like, I'm gonna raise my boy the way that works for me, or whatever. Like.
And whatever differences they had, or whatever their relationship is, which is unbelievably unclear, and just it just disappears. So that never has a resolution, and so it's that kind of stuff that you're missing when you have a 74-minute movie. You know, you just cannot explore that for whatever reason. I don't know why they didn't, but that's also the kind of stuff that makes it feel a little thin compared to the A-list fare.
Yes.
I thought that even though it's not, there's nothing about it that seems that low rent production wise, but that kind of stuff is what it's missing.
Yeah,
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I thought you made a great point about how it's it's rare that you have a deeper cut Disney movie with Disney being the brand that it is, and I think that probably makes the people who do like it take even more pride in liking it.
Yeah,
because which I think is awesome.
I've been with this since day one. Yeah,
100%.
That's a little bit how I feel. Yeah. In terms of like, even though I'm not like as big of a fan as you are, I still am kind of like, I still think it's cool. Like I saw your shirt and I got it. You know, like and I was like, oh shit, that's a cool shirt. Like, and I understand the pride that they take.
Well, the smaller movies that do some things well but ultimately aren't that good are like my favorite kind of movies, and they need champions. Yeah. And within the world of Disney, you don't have many options with that because everything you do is such a big fucking deal.
Right.
So to the point where most of their movies either fall into good or so middle of the road you just forget you've ever even seen them.
That's a good point.
And something like Goofy Movies is somehow outside of that basic structure,
really its
which I
own
find to
thing.
be extremely interesting.
Yeah, because it, like, for someone who sees it for the first time as an adult, it very well may be middle of the road. But because of this large amount of people who have this special connection to it, it actually gets bumped out of that, like, tier to, which is, like, definitely super interesting.
Yeah, it's almost, I wouldn't say it's a cautionary tale by any means, but it is kind of saying, like, hey, be nice to your parents, you know, be nice to your dad, and, like, and...
Otherwise you get the chair, you know?
That's right.
That's just how it is.
I did want to, because I heard you going through specific moments, I did want to, because I did say the movie was super quotable for me.
Yes.
And I feel like I didn't,
give it to us.
I feel like I didn't touch on every quote.
Give us the
So
best
here we
shit,
go.
man.
So when the girl with the braces, Stacy, is making her announcement about her party at the assembly towards the beginning, and the guy in the crowd goes, "Stacy, talk to me, baby."
What?
Incredible.
That's amazing.
Just the whole concept of, like, Xavier Cugat, the Mambo King, everybody Mambo, and he dances with the secretary in the chair, and then Bobby's like, move with her, groove with her.
Yeah, that's great.
There's a Wilhelm scream on the highway I picked up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I always catch those fucking things. That's funny for a G-rated movie.
Yeah. I think the hotel they stay in with the waterbed.
Oh,
I've always wanted to sleep in a waterbed because of that.
I remember
Because of
being a
that.
kid
Interesting.
seeing that and thinking that too. I remember that.
I had a friend who was a kid. As a kid, his parents got a waterbed. I was like 8 or 9 years old, and it wasn't until way later that I realized, like, oh, his parents were just into weird sex shit. Like, that's why you get a waterbed.
Yeah. I think the hotel that they stay in a Goofy movie was probably, at that point, Max is the one choosing the locations.
Right.
So I'm sure it was super seedy.
Right.
And then speaking of prestige movies that a Goofy movie did it first, not only the La La Land Dancing in Traffic, but two people riding a skateboard at the same time, which Last Black Man in San Francisco does.
Oh.
A Goofy movie did that first too.
You're right.
They both, when they're riding the skateboard, like trying to chase the car rolling down
Is
the
that
hill.
in Jordan Calhoun's article, Bear? Does he mention that?
I'll have to double check. I'll link you guys to that article, but that's a good
that out,
call. Yeah.
So just pointing that out. And then last thing is just Andrew and I talk a lot about our favorite cuts to black, and I think this probably deserves to be in that conversation. Because it's
nice.
He's like, "Enchanté, mademoiselle," when he meets Roxanne. It
hands
tilts
up.
up, and then
Banana. Yeah, that's good.
I mean,
I agree. I felt that too. Okay, so as we wrap up here, Kahlil, start us off. What's your verdict? Which we know.
It's still good. I was the least suspenseful of the three. Literally, the reason I was brought on is because we knew that it was still going to be good for me.
We knew you'd be taking the witness stand.
But I loved having an excuse to rewatch it, and I've also never been a guest on a podcast before, so I was
big day.
to be
Huge.
the guest on a podcast for the first time, and for it to be about a Goofy movie was too good to pass up.
Felt right.
Felt
All right,
Completely
Bear.
agree. No, not enough here. If you've seen it as an adult, it is the definition of rose-colored glasses. I don't hate anyone who likes this movie. I get it. I had a lot of fun talking about it and picking out stuff, and an interesting time in Disney history where they had a property that went somewhat under the radar. That is almost entirely unheard of now. And all that is very interesting. But the movie itself, unless you see it at that age and you bring that into your adult life watching it, I don't think there's enough there. So unfortunately, no. I don't feel good about that, but no.
I respect it. I'm a yes, and I think a lot of it has to do with, I mean, first of all, yeah, I agree with you if you didn't watch this as a kid. If I didn't watch this as a kid, I might be with you on that one. But honestly, like, the thing that I can't ignore is the emotional reaction I had. I just feel like that's a mark of good storytelling if I can be moved like that. Like, I'm just like, you know, and more than once, you know, it's like, it's not like it was like one good scene surrounded by bad shit. I also thought that the storytelling structure was actually pretty smart. I liked that he got Roxanne early, and then the movie is about him trying to maintain it. I just thought that was smart, because usually with these things, it's like, I gotta get the girl by the end, and like, yeah, that's still a part of it a little bit, but he gets her, and they they're into each other, and then his life
is at its most perfect right before Goofy asks him to
right, which I thought that was smart and cool. Thank you so much for listening. If you have an opinion about a Goofy movie, if you've watched it recently, and you want to share what you thought of it, shoot us an email at stillgoodshow@gmail.com. Look for us on Instagram at stillgoodshow. We're also on Facebook. Is it still good? I just want to keep saying things. We're also on vinyl and on cassette tape, and
we're on 8-track, just like Goofy.
We're on 8-track.
Kahlil, do you have any? Thanks for joining us. Do you have anything to plug?
No, just to say that Andrew and I are creative partners, and hopefully we do some, once the world goes back to normal and stuff, we do some cool stuff in the industry in the coming years. But aside from that, more importantly, everyone stay safe and healthy out there, and hopefully this is a good time to listen to this podcast while we're all stuck inside and everything. Yeah. And if you want to have a Goofy movie sing along with me, also email the
people are going to email asking for you, and then we'll be like, all right, let's donate, or let's
you might have to be a recurring guest.
Yeah. But that's it, guys. Everybody, thanks for listening. Bye-bye now.
Bye.